Okay, let's continue on. First thing we want to do is create a little bit of code that allows us to collect our hand sanitizers here. So in order to do that, go up to sprites up on the top here, and we'll scroll all the way down until we get to the overlaps title here. We're going to pull this out, and it says on sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite of kind. I want to overlap the virus stopper because that is what we're using as our reward. So let's go to virus stopper here. So when I overlap that virus stopper, what I want to happen is I'm going to click on info, and I'm going to change my score by 1. So essentially, that's going to push my score up by 1. Now, you can test this out. What you will notice is you overlap this, your score rockets up and does not stop. And that's because this sprite actually doesn't disappear. So you can test that out. What you will need to do is destroy the sprite as soon as you touch it. So click on sprite again here. And if you scroll down under effects right here, there is a destroy sprite block. So I'm just going to put it, and make sure you put it below your other block. You don't want to destroy it before you give yourself a point. So I'm going to destroy the other sprite, which is the virus stopper. And you notice that will pop out this little variable. We want to get rid of it and trash it here. So once I've destroyed it, I want my character maybe to say something. So I'm going to click on sprites. I'm going to scroll down to effects right here, and I'm going to pull out an effect. So I'm going to pull out start an effect, and you can see right here, if you do not click plus sign, the effect will go again and again and again. So we want to click it and make it for, this makes it for half a second. So what you want to do is you want, once it destroys the sprite, you want your character to make that like effect. So I'm going to grab this sprite variable right here. I'm just going to drag it down here. Essentially what's that saying is our sprite player will have an effect on them when they grab that little reward there. Next thing, let's make our character say something. So I'm going to click on sprites. I'm going to scroll down to X again, and you'll see it says this one, my sprite say something. Grab this, scroll down, grab this variable block from the top again, pull down and put it inside where it says my sprites, and you put whatever you want inside this little, you put whatever string you want inside this little box here. I'll make it say it for 1 second. And let's put a happy face like that. You can put whatever you want there though. Okay, that's pretty good. So let's back out a little bit. Now you'll notice I have a bunch of code all ready to go here, and I'm just going to back out a little bit more, move this code down, and I'm going to pop this code in just below here, so it hooks on just below the other code. I'm just going to zoom in so you see what I actually did there. The code I put in is outlined in yellow. And this code right here is exactly the same as this code here. Exactly the same, except for a couple key differences. The first difference is that rather than a turquoise block, I have an orange block that I've placed all over my level. And remember, when you're placing those, you just need to go into your set tile map 2, and I create an orange block here by clicking plus sign and create an orange. Just put the orange block all over my level. Let me just scroll back down to what we're talking about. So we were talking about this block here. So that orange block is new. It's not turquoise. I created a new variable and I called it flower because I want these flowers to appear everywhere. So I clicked on this little down arrow and I clicked new variable and I named it flower. And then of course I drew a flower by clicking on this gray box. And then I renamed this flower to call it enemy creator, because this, every time a character touches one of these flowers, and I just used a flower as an example, you can use whatever you want, it's going to create an enemy that's going to come at us from behind. So I just clicked on enemy. I clicked on this box right here, and I clicked add a new kind, and I called it enemy creator right there. And place flower on top of value. Our value is the orange, and then set the blank transparent sprite at value. So that removes the orange block. So it's exactly the same as this block, but we're setting down flowers rather than the hand sanitizer. I'm going to be using these flowers to spawn enemies or create enemies. So you'll need to go ahead and do that right now. So you can pause the video and do this whole section here. Remember how to do this, you can go back to the other video. I'm just going to back out a little bit. And what we're going to want to do now is we want to make the spawning, the enemy creation code. So I'm just going to move forward a little bit and give ourselves some room. We'll zoom in so we have some room to look around here. And do that. So I'm going to say I'm going to click on sprites and I'm going to scroll down here again. I'm going to go to the overlaps, and I'm going to bring this one out and say on sprite of kind player overlapping other sprite of kind, what did I call it? Enemy creator, which is the flower. So I'm going to say when it overlaps the flower, first thing it does, I'm going to get it to destroy the flower. So when the flower disappear, and if you remember, destroy is under effects right here. Drag that out, put it inside there. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a virus. So I'm going to click on sprites. I'm going to grab the set my sprite to sprite block. So pull this out. Oh, don't forget to hover over other sprite. There we go. So I'm going to set my sprite and I'm going to call this virus. I've already named it. You'll have to name it using new variable. So I'm going to call it virus to sprite and click on sprite and I will create a virus. So sure exactly how I want my virus to look. I'm not best drawing this, so let's just put some kind of wiggly arms on the side like that. I think I included a picture for the virus inside the Google Slides, so you can use that. So once I've got this all set up like this, there's my virus, a very good example, but you can make it however you like. I'm going to click done. Set virus to sprite that of kind, and we're actually going to call this enemy. So it's going to be the enemy. So I'm going to click on that. I think here this variable is popped out. I'm just trying to remember where that came from. Probably came from the destroy other sprite and trash that, so we don't have anything hanging out. Okay, so basically when my player touches the flower, it destroys the flower and creates this virus. So the virus just pops and appears. I'm going to click on sprite and I'm going to set a little effect on my player. So I'm going to go to effects again. I'm going to say name of my player is Paul, I believe, and I'm going to make a little fire effect. And then I am going to set the position of the virus to kind of appear behind the player here. So I touch the flower, the virus appears behind my player and moves towards my player. Now, to make the virus appear behind my player, I have to understand that my y-axis runs up and down, okay? My x-axis runs left to right. So x0 and it goes positive that way, y0 and then it goes positive that way. So if I want my virus to appear behind my player, I'm going to have to find out my player's position to make the virus appear at a negative x position. So it's going to take away from my player's x position and make the virus appear behind them. In order to do that, we're going to grab a set block. So we're going to click on sites. We're going to go set. You can see, I'm just going to drag it out right here. Set, and it's going to be enemy. Sorry, not enemy, virus. It's going to say set virus position to something on the x and something on the y. Now what we're going to do is we need to set it to the Paul's position minus a certain amount. So to do that, we're going to have to use a tiny bit of math. So we're going to go down to the math icon. It's the purple one here. And we're going to grab this one way at the top that says 0 plus 0. We're going to pull that out, and we're just going to set it down here for now. And then once we've got that, we're going to go back to our sprites airplane area here. And we're going to grab the my sprite X. So I'm going to grab the my sprite X. I'm going to hover over here until you see that yellow kind of glow. And let me just zoom here so you can really see what's going on. Go down a bit and go this way a little bit. Okay. So again, I'm going to grab this yellow block here. Don't grab my sprites or it'll pull it right out. Grab the entire block. Now hover over here, it'll go yellow. You see it turns that yellow color and release. And there we go, we've got that. This block is almost ready. So I'm going to click on my sprite and we're going to say Paul's. So we've got Paul's X position. And we're going to minus. So I'm going to click on the minus sign and we're going to minus a certain amount from it. So I'm going to minus, I don't know, let's try minusing 10. So I'm going to grab this entire block and I'll pull it up and hover over the 0. It says X0. I'm going to hover over the 0 and I'm going to release. So it says here, basically, set the virus position to Paul's position minus 10 points or 10 units behind Paul. The Y is set at 0, so Y is way up here. We don't want it to set to 0 because the virus will appear up here every time. So let's set it to Paul's position as well. So go up to sprites, go down to physics and my sprite X, this out, and put this in Y. So there we go. And let me just move this way, time it. And we're changing my sprite to Paul. So Paul's right there. And we're rather than X, set this to Y. So let's see how this actually looks in the game here. So let's check this out. So I'm going to drop down. I'm going to go to this flower, and ooh, the virus appears right on top of me. So that is not, and it's not even moving. So that is too close. So let's go minus, let's try 30. Maybe that's a little better. Let's try again. So drop down, and there, that's reasonable. The virus is not moving, but we'll change that in a second here. So what we're going to do is go back up to sprites. We're going to drag down here until we see the set my enemy follow my sprite. So we're going to drag that out, put it here, and we're going to set the virus to follow Paul. And we're going to try to follow Paul at maybe 50 speed. So 50 there. So let's drop down. There it is. Got that 1 point. And here, oh, the virus is following me. 50 is too fast. The virus is a little bit too quick. You can see now there's 2 viruses. All right, so it depends on what speed you want. So I'm going to maybe set that to 30. That might be a little bit more reasonable. Okay. Now, that looks pretty good. We've got viruses appearing. We've got points for the sanitizer, which is great. I am not going to tell you how to minus lives from your character, but I will leave you with a hint. I'm just going to back up here. And it's going to be, I'm going to click on sprites, and it's going to be this, sorry, this one right here, and overlaps. And it's something to do with the overlaps, something to do with the virus overlapping or the enemy overlapping your player. Something happens, and you'll figure out what should happen once the virus overlaps your player. And let's see if you can figure a piece of code out right here. Other than that, you can continue to, you can build your virus however you want. You can work on your artwork and your scene. That's probably enough code for you to work on for now. Thank you.